Hi everyone! In this part, I will install a chair, a steering column, and a reducer, and also a lot of accompanying details. In the previous part, I've stopped on installation of a seat. I took a plastic black one, which is similar to the original, but without holes. I've already sat in there and would tell that it is strong and perfectly fitted my proportions. Before chair installation, it is important to make a floor in a buggy. For this purpose, I turned over the truck using hoister, which was once bought for building. At the same time, I welded the lower part of the buggy, which was on tacks till this moment. I used electrodes of OK46 model. For a firm adherence of a list, I ground off the protruded seams on pipes. I will close only a bottom under a chair and legs so far. I'll leave an engine compartment open for convenient engine installation. I used a cold rolled metal 1mm thick. I welded the list to the cross tube. Further, I already cut it by the frame sizes approximately on the center of a pipe's axis. I will weld the list on points approximately after each 3 centimeters. On the center to the cross tube, I welded a list through saw cuts in it. I've got rivets as the tanks ones. By the way, after the welding of a bottom, I returned the buggy in its usual condition. It took me several times, everything remained on its place. This test only reminded me to change back hub bearings as I bought them already quite killed. Remind me after engine installation to lift the buggy at possible height of the workshop ceiling and to throw it on all 4 wheels. Now we need to fix a seat on a frame. It will stand approximately in such position. It is necessary to insert a pipe into a stiffening rib, but before it should be bent in a seat form. I used a template from a wire in technology according to which I welded some elements of a buggy frame. I cut a pipe on segments and bent in a stiffening rib form. After adjustment, I welded the blank and I drilled some openings in it. I applied the pipe to the seat and I drilled openings through a pipe in place. I fastened a pipe to a front part of a seat too, but of a larger diameter. For a seat back, I welded a crossbar on a frame. The back fastening will be welded to it. Forward seat fastening will be welded to the frame with pipe pieces. I've adjusted them tightly to frame joints. I've finished with the seat so far and moved to a steering column. I took a steering column from VAZ. I don't remember exactly from which model, but it has adjusting for height. I tried it on in place. From the outside, it looks like a wheel from some lorry was adjusted in the sport car. 32. The wheels should definitely be changed. I surfed the internet and the minimal price label for a wheel of 250mm was about $64. That means I will make the wheel on my own. First, I pulled off the wheel and got rid of any excess. I haven't found a round rod and took a square of 10mm. I bent it in manual in a circle through the fork matting from pipes. I cut off the tails and I welded the blank in a rig. I've got about 250mm. Approximately measured this diameter from the wheel and I sawed off the central part. I cleaned it from rubber and fastenings for a signal. I adjusted the splined coupling approximately on the center and I welded to the ring. Later, I will wind the wheel with an insulating tape, or you will remind me SMTH in the comments. BTW in a standard wheel is also used as square, but already of 8mm. We need to change the steering column length and to adjust the column reach for convenient driving. For this purpose, I cut a tube and I welded a circle of 16mm in it. I added to a frame one more element for a steering column. I fixed a steering column on a frame with bracket made from a corner. Now the wheel looks harmoniously and its diameter is enough to turn the wheels easily. Meanwhile, I finished the front half of the buggy. I moved to the back one. In the first version, for momentum transfer from the engine to the wheels, I will use a reducer from a scooter. In general, I want to experiment and try several versions of engines and transmissions on the buggy with different configurations and placement. It will help me to find an optimal solution for this truck, and if you'd like some time to reproduce it, you won't happen to repeat my mistakes. So the first version will be based on a reducer from the scooter. Its advantage is the back speed, which can be turned on by the lever on a reducer from above. It also contains a differential which should be better blocked, but I won't do it yet. At first, I partially dismantled it, removed drive couplers and drive sprocket, which I probably will replace as there are fortunately enough spare parts for this reducer on the market. As fastening of a reducer to a frame will serve two corners, meanwhile will serve after adjustment 2 more fastenings will be made. Short wires from a front wheel model are perfect for this configuration. After I found the reducer position, I marked and drilled some holes in the corners. For reducer fixing, I used an 8mm pin. Other 2 holes for pins I drilled in place. We need to weld a splined coupler from a reducer to the drive. I put the reducer on the frame and completely hung out wheels to search an optimal drive position. Its Madden in order to drive operated normally. Because if we change suspension position, the drive length will also be changed by means of the mobile inner CV joint. Before cutting off the slots, I dismantled the CV joint. I removed an anther and retaining ring. Before joining, I cut off the ears from the coupler. They aren't needed here anymore. For joining, I will use a self-made lathe. I ground out a frame for the coupler on it. I fixed it on the improvised back pastern before I checked it on coaxiality. I put the CV joint case on a holder with a prepared axis for welding. I jointed 2 details and put them on tacks. Re-welded for several times, but a slight beating can still be felt. If wheel disturbs, I'll carry details to the turner. Thus, how I remade 2 CV joints. I brought all together conversely, meanwhile without a clamp. I tried on in place. While I have no engine, I twisted the reducer with a screwdriver, and during it, I checked in its stern motion and differential. I noticed that reducer's semi-axis dangles. Most likely it is not the factory admission, but the killed bearings or differential. It's important to sort it out, otherwise the drives will just break the reducer. And I will work with all of this in the following video. Also in the next video will be fixed the first version of the engine. For now, thanks everyone for support and attention, subscribe and press like button. I will accelerate the next part exit.